This is Grimm Grinner on all channels.
The Badlands River, working corporations is an insidious agent. Fire and stabbing gates, devastation to the wastes, the desolated. Do not trust him.
Welcome to the Wastes.
Hey there, Wasteland. This is Grimm Grinner on all channels. So, if the displays here in the bunker are accurate, which I'm pretty sure they should be, seems like a moderate enough day out there. Hopefully the chill weather hasn't frozen out too many camps, and the crops are going strong wherever the farm is set up. It's been a short while down here, Wastelanders, and I've been feeling the pull to be back out there, the same way I used to be. Transmitting from random outposts and getting into it with the corporations. But alas, until we can track down the source of these ominous transmissions, I am on lockdown. With my range of travel being only a few clicks in any direction, and at that having to take extra precautions to make sure that the bunker isn't discovered. That being said, it has given me some time to think about things, including remembering stories that I can tell over the static for whoever's still listening. And today's story comes with a message to an old friend before I get into it. Blue jay to the nest, caged and in need of some wind to stretch my wings. With that out of the way, I feel the need to share a bit of a story of someone a lot of Wastelanders may not have heard much about unless you've run courier jobs for Balasar and the Phoenix Express. The owl. Now, a lot of the stories about the owl have turned into some degree of myth, especially since they're rarely seen leaving their own bunker referred to as the nest. But in the earlier years after the fall, they were a force to be reckoned with, alongside Balasar. Two of them were pretty similar to how CJ and I have been since we met. One was fast-talking, barging into fights all over the wastes, and the other was more reserved, but knew how to shut shit down in an instant if need be. Give you 3 guesses at who's who. They carved a deep path around the region together, making friends in all sorts of places and enemies in just as many. That was until finally, they decided to settle in and build something using that reputation. In all of their trailblazing, the two of them had figured that being able to help people get messages and supplies to each other would likely be pretty easy for them, since they had a great sense of which ways to go, having taken the best paths to most of the major areas. And realistically, it would be just as easy to show a handful of people the same routes. Of course, that's where Phoenix Express was born, even though it hadn't been named quite yet. Enter the owl, who had a love of birds both before the fall and after. In their conversation with Balasar, who himself had been scorched from exposure to radiation, and yet remained alive and kicking, he was given the name Phoenix, as he rose from the ashes. And since he was likely going to be the scarred face and voice of their budding courier service, it became the Phoenix Express. The first few couriers to join were shown the best routes by Balasar and the owl, and all of them were given nicknames based on birds that the owl viewed them as. Over time, as the organization grew, the owl did take a step back and was more behind the scenes, allowing Balasar to figure out code names, and in doing so spread all sorts of stories about their escapades before the Express. Stories about roaming the Badlands and encountering mutated creatures that defied all logic and reasoning, or of them fighting corporate elites with barely any weapons worth a damn. I think when I first encountered Balasar, he told me a story about the two of them riding a massive beast that used to resemble a moose, but was now twice the size, and with extra legs and horns. They originally wanted to ride it up to the walls of the Ghat as an intimidation move, but decided they didn't want the creature to come to any harm, so they just enjoyed watching it traipse away under the light of the shattered moon. Best part about those stories is that whether they were true or not, Balasar would tell them with such conviction that they've all become true and become legends worthy of any of the books out at RG's library. Even with his open nature, though, Balasar does seem to grow quiet when asked about the owl. Very few people have seen them since the original couriers were brought on, leading some to worry about Balasar's beloved. Yeah, there are still messages coming from them regularly, always in code, but that still leaves a lot of questions in some younger couriers' minds. But not mine and CJ's. We were both brought onto the Phoenix Express at the same time, and very quickly showed our worth to Balasar. So much so that we were called to the nest by special request when it came time to be given our courier code names. From what I knew, Balasar had been in charge of that for a few years at this point, with no couriers past the first batch being given names by the owl, which meant that we had struck some kind of special chord with Balasar. We met at the location given to us, and Balasar very kindly led us into the old bunker, where we met with the owl one at a time to talk and give them an idea of our character to be given our code names. When we left with the names Raven and Bluejay, which Balasar still calls us from time to time, when he has a run on the books for either of us. Of course, the owl only will refer to us by those names, on the off chance that we get a message from them about anything, or if we need to contact them to help get any messages out. And with how things have been for me here, I am definitely in need of some avian assistance. So, before I end this transmission to go and work on cleaning up some gear and getting some stuff running around here, Bluejay to the nest, caged and in need of some wind to stretch my wings. Hopefully they're hearing me. This has been Grimm Grinner on all channels. See you in the wastes.
Nest to Bluejay. Not many birds in the area, but I've got the frequency of a particular songbird. Try BF 211.
Welcome to The Wastes is a Wasteland podcast brought to you by Edward Grimm Grinner Hutchinson. Feel free to follow me on all social media and make sure to subscribe so you can hear new episodes as they release. If you like what I do here and want to support the podcast by getting some cool merch, check out my Etsy store. For more information and all the links, check out linktree.com/welcome to the wastes. Thanks for listening.